This is a Musclecat Media production.
Okay. This is where you have to clap, Spoon. Come on. Okay. No, I'll teach you the ways. When I say okay, give me a little either fist bump in the air or a clap. Like that. Like, okay. Just like that. Yeah. So we'll go, okay. No, two
Three
claps.
too many? Three too many.
If you want to be on the bandwagon, you're going to have to learn.
Counting is incredibly hard.
Okay. Blue Jays. Let's play ball. Yeah, that's good enough. That's the Jays song. It's been
when
that
you changed
song
the pace on me, it really threw me.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a complicated song for a complicated fan base going through some complicated times right now, man. It's pretty exciting stuff. That was insane. So, welcome to the Baseball Expats World Series edition. Eric and Spoon. Rolsey is so sick right now, man. We've been trying to line something up. He's not alive, so it's just you and me right now. But it's good because here's how it's going to work. You're going to give me some therapy as a team that has been scorned in the World Series before, and you're going to give me some picks, and we're going to talk a little bit of Blue Jays. This isn't a Dodgers podcast. If you're here for Dodgers content, if you're here because you want the Dodgers to win, just log off. We don't want you here. This is not an inclusive space anymore.
Unless you're a fan of for that.
It's 100% right. Dude, this is crazy, man. This wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah, dude. I mean, obviously, first of all, I'm sad to have missed, a couple of weeks of content, obviously being in the UK. Easily the worst time zone to be following games. There were a few sort of late nights on my travels where I was up at, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. when the games were starting. But there were clearly some sort of epic live moments that I was missing, and waking up to our expats chat with 99 plus messages the next day is when there was a banger. Obviously caught up, as soon as I could the next day and managed to watch Game 7 after flying in on Tuesday. And wow, man, I can't imagine how you're feeling because I felt it a couple of years ago, but for how sort of much this team's knocked on the door in recent years. And how about Vladdy tempting fate with the Leafs jersey rolling up to the game? It was the perfect storm for heartbreak, right? And you and I probably we've gone 10 rounds as far as who suffers more with our sports teams over the last decade or so, and this was just a completely against the run or against the trend kind of run from the Jays, and just 4 wins to go, man. 4 wins.
Dude, well, you were kind of like this with the Diamondbacks a few years ago, right? They kind of got hot late, got in. The Jays got hot mid-season and got in, but I meant it in the way that, the Diamondbacks weren't supposed to make the World Series that year, right?
Yeah.
They just weren't, and the Jays made it. So you're kind of playing with house money, but that doesn't make it any more less nerve-wracking, I suppose. But, man, when they won the game, first off, it was stressful. Hoffman's been locked down the last 2 months, by the way. Any stress is kind of unwarranted from Jays fans because he's actually been unbelievable for the last 2 months in September, October, which is a good time to do it. But it's still Jeff Hoffman coming in, so you were stressed late. But when they had that final out, man, I was I didn't know how I was going to react, so I just reacted how I reacted, and I was speechless. My dad called me instantly, and I was I didn't know what to do or say. He was asking me questions and I was just kind of numb, but it was so cool.
I think you'd be very similar to me. I'm so conditioned to, it is never really, you're never home, right? You never, the good things always get taken away. And I remember it really clearly. We had doing Game 6 and 7 against Philly at the bank. And even it was a very similar story. We had Paul Sewald closing at the time, who had been brilliant up until the World Series. Not saying your closer is going to fall apart like ours did.
He could.
But even right until a lazy fly ball that was hit to Corbin Carroll for the last out, I was he's going to lose it in the lights and it's going to start a 2-out rally in the ninth. Even when he caught it, I was waiting for you had to wait a little bit to make sure it wasn't going to get ripped away. So I do know how you're feeling. It's this is an unfamiliar feeling of success.
And I had just thoughts racing. So first off, I first thought back to the run in 2016 was my first thought, to be honest, when the Jays were playing the Cleveland Indians in the ALCS. And the Indians' rotation was so banged up and so bad that the Jays should have won that series. And they went against a dude, I can't even remember his name, to be honest, but he ended up only making 9 starts ever in the MLB. Like, he fizzled out and he threw 4 2/3 shutout. And I remember that so clearly. I remember versus Kansas City the year before, Ben Revere getting squeezed by the umpire when the Jays in Game 6 had a chance to go on and win. And then obviously there was like a decade of not so good. And then you think back to 2021 when the Jays made that great run at the end and missed the playoffs by 1 game. And you have that image of Vladdy staring at the scoreboard when it was Boston beating the Washington Nationals. They should have won that game, but it was that crazy last day. And then the next year when the Jays were up, 8-2, and they blew it to Seattle, and they come back and win.
Yeah, Bo colliding with the center fielder, Springer potentially. Bo and Springer like colliding in center field, and like in a 2-out rally just started, but you could just tell from the moment that ball fell, it was just going to happen, right?
Yeah, and then I thought about 2022 where it was the Twins and the Jays never felt like they were in that. They got swept and Vladdy got picked up at second. And then it was 2023, I guess. And then last year where they were just so disappointing. And then I thought about Carlos Delgado and Roy Halladay and Vernon Wells and all of these great, great Blue Jay players and baseball players in general that played on these teams and they never even got a sniff of the playoffs. And like my dad is a diehard Jays fan, but he's always had 92 and 93, right? Like that was his run, and that was his generation of friends that they hold their hat on. And my generation hasn't had that. Like, I don't remember the Jays in the World Series. I only hear stories of the World Series run. So all I was thinking was, man, this is crazy. This is 3 decades of just like, and now all of a sudden, but you're still watching, you're still there. I'm working in baseball. I've got a podcast about baseball. I've sit here in my room with the Rogers Center poster on my wall, and a guy, my friend, painted me. I love Kevin Gossman and I love his splitter. So he painted me a custom-made Kevin Gossman splitter a few years ago when they signed him, right? Like, that's all I could think about. So it was a really cool feeling, and I'm just trying to enjoy it, man. That's all I'm trying to do.
I've got a question I'll ask you now before the series starts, because the answer might change. Will probably change by the end of the series. Would you rather, like, knowing this is your first World Series basically in your lifetime, would you rather go into the series against an opponent that you're probably meant to beat? Like, even just think about a D-backs team from 2 years ago that was like a wild card, scrappy sort of underdog team. Or do you like that you're going in against a team that preseason the bookies were taking bets on? Are they going to break the single season win record? Like, you're up against the Avengers. Like, would you, if you could pick your opponent right now, are you changing it?
No, I want the Dodgers. And like, this is consistent when people were asking me what I wanted to happen at the end of the season, when it was going to be Jays either wild card or win the division, and it was going to be either Boston or New York. And when Boston and New York were playing each other, I wanted the Yankees, because you want to beat the Yankees, right? Yeah, it would suck to lose to the Yankees. And I don't know, like, okay, the Raptors, when they won in 2019, they won. They beat the Warriors. They beat them in that era. But you know what? Kevin Durant was hurt in the end of that stretch, right? And they were banged up, and you felt like it was the perfect opportunity for the Raptors because LeBron had left the conference. And in Toronto sports lore, you had Kawhi, everybody was hot, and the Warriors were there, but they were missing some key bodies. So it was like prime opportunity to win, and they won. And no one can take away the championship, and anyone that suggests that the Raptors didn't deserve it is crazy. But it was like that was the opportunity. They had to win. It felt almost more relieving. It felt celebratory, but there was a sense of relief. This is like a sense of like, you know what? If you go man on man, the Dodgers are just flat out a more talented team. Like, no one's going to debate you on that, right? So, it's crazy, man.
You had to go 7 games, and I mean, Gossman and Bassett both came out of the pen, right? Like, compared to the Dodgers, who very much needed the rest for that rotation because they've been so banged up all year. I mean, I'm with you on paper, but like, counter argument, FTD, let's go.
Yeah, right. But you know what? It's interesting, too, because I was having this chat with Kurt DuBois from Outback Quarterback earlier in the week and earlier today. He was asking me about expectations for the Blue Jays and in this thing. And you know what? Like, I'm hopeful, but I don't expect anything. And that kind of links back to the start of the year. So let me break this down for you, Spoon. Let's go back to the start of the year. First off, I predicted the Blue Jays to finish last in the division. And that wasn't because, and you can go back and listen to the recording, it wasn't because I thought the Jays were a bad team. I just thought the AL East was so loaded, right? And yeah, and they only won 74 games last year, and the over-under line at the start of the season was 80.5 wins, right? So the question about the Toronto Blue Jays was, is this team a 500 team, yes or no? It wasn't, are they going to make the playoffs? Are they going to win the division? It's like, can they improve enough to be 500, right? And then you think, okay, you know what? What needs to go right for the Toronto Blue Jays to make the playoffs and make a run? Let's play the hope card. All right, let's take a look at their starting rotation, the opening day starting rotation, right? Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett. Then you have my boy, Francis freaking Bowden. You have Max Scherzer in the mix there, right? You know, you say, okay, that's workable. Bowden was great last year at the end of the year. Maybe he turns into something. Alek Manoah's coming back. Maybe the pitching gets hot, so you have good starting pitcher. And you know what? They put a lot of money into Anthony Santander. Jay's bats were cold last year. Maybe Santander goes absolutely banana lands, hits a bunch of home runs, and that's cool. And maybe Bo Bichette returns to a normal self.
So you had him for comeback. Yeah, right? You had him for comeback player. Yeah.
Bichette comeback, Santander hits home runs, and you know what? I like it. The Jays starting rotation, that's awesome. So you're feeling that's the cause for hope. Well, Anthony Santander didn't play most of the year. He was hurt. Bowden Francis tanked out. The Jays playoff roster on the opening ALDS had one of their 5 starting pitchers from opening day on that roster, and Bo Bichette wasn't even on the list because he's been hurt the last time. So it was like anything you called on for hope, being like, yeah, the Jays can get to the playoffs if this happened.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. And they got there anyways.
Don't forget as well, I mean, I'm sure you haven't, but come opening day, Vladdy hadn't signed, right? And there was a lot of negativity surrounding that, where it was like, how much of a distraction is this going to be for the dugout? I don't know. What was it, 3 or 4 weeks in that deal got done? And the team looked disjointed up until then. And that was another huge talking point, because he was talking about, obviously he was playing the contract game, but he was talking about how he'd look in pinstripes and stuff, right? It was pretty bleak as far as if we let this guy go, what does that mean for our intent to win? That's not a storyline from 2 years ago. It's a storyline from 4 months ago, right?
It was the first game had already been played.
Yeah. So that's another huge talking point, I think, as far as okay, well, who is the face of this team if it's not him?
Yeah, dude, you're totally right. And you heard Blue Jay players quote that, there's a few articles in The Athletic about it from earlier in the year, that, the talking point was that Vladdy signing that 14-year deal gave the team stability, right? If your guy is saying, I'm here not just for this year, but I'm here for 14 more years. So you know what? I'm all in, and it's the investment from the ownership in a guy. It's the investment in Vladdy in a team, and everything could kind of stabilize from there. And credit to John Schneider, man. I know some of his decisions get questioned, but you can't question what he's got out of these players, because of the players on the ALCS roster, 15 of them played in AAA this year. 15. Now, 2 of them were Bieber and Springer. They were on rehab. But the Jays legitimately are doing it with guys that at the start of the year, if you told me, I'd be like, those are AAA guys. What the Bisons win, Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, are you? Come on, Nathan
It reminds
Lucas.
me a lot of some of those Atlanta teams, like 4 or 5 years ago, where they actually emptied the farm, brought up guys like Michael Harris, and they actually just had that instant impact. I think one more guy worth talking about. Obviously, he had the moment of the entire playoffs so far. I will be the first to admit. I mean, I've talked to Grom a fair bit about this over the last couple of years. Springer was an all-star in 2022 at 32. He had 4.2 WAR that season. The next year at age 33, he has 2 WAR. Last year at age 34, he has 1.1 WAR. It was looking like, oh no, there's 3 more years of this deal on an aging guy at a plus or a premium position, who's pretty much just got a glove left and no other tool. This year he has a 4.8 WAR at 35 and comes through in the postseason. Most guys do one or the other. Hats off, George Springer. I have a lot of tweets to delete.
Dude, in game 5, that heater he got off the knee, the exit velocity off of the knee registered on StatCast at 56 miles per hour. So it's almost 100 kilometers an hour. A ball left his knee, and 2 days later, he hit the second biggest home run in franchise history. Sorry, Joey Bats. Jose Bautista, iconic and meant so much because it broke a drought of them winning. I get it. But that didn't send them to the World Series. This did. And I love that Kevin Pillar and Jose Bautista and Marco Estrada were like at all of the games in the box, just like cheering them on. Like, I think that's so cool because those were my first guys of like playoff, not even success. They won a divisional round versus the Texas Rangers twice, and Rovnet Ador got punched in the face. Like that is it, right? So it's cool, man.
Like, obviously we don't need to recap all of it, but like the question you asked repeatedly in the chat was, why isn't Munoz up? And the other question is, why are you pitching to him? Like, Springer had just been annihilating balls, even his out to allowed outs, right? All series. You've got an open base on first. You set up a double play opportunity. I know if you don't get it, you face Vladdy, but still, like, you needed bases loaded there in that situation, and you needed to not pitch to George Springer, and you needed to get your closer out of the pen. They managed to do zero of those three things and paid full tote odds for it, right?
So is George Springer the most clutch playoff hitter ever?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's had enough moments now, right?
Where, in my lifetime, he is.
Yeah. I think, like, we always talk about, or a guy widely considered as one of the best playoff hitters of this generation is Stanton, but the Yankees are probably have the same accolades that Springer's now had on two different teams, right? And if you look at, I mean, Altuve is probably still in that conversation, but he's had, a lot more chances too. And Altuve probably finishes his career as the most home run postseason hitter of all time. But I mean, you talk just moments. I think some of the stuff that Springer's doing has been remarkable, and there's hopefully a couple more big moments to come. I'd love to see one hit 500 and something feet at Dodger Stadium.
So one more for you. If George Springer goes crazy in the World Series and the Jays beat the Dodgers, does that put enough on his resume to become a Hall of Famer?
Does he ever beat the cheating allegations that keep out probably Altuve and potentially Correa as well? I don't know. I think you could say it puts him in the basket where he should get the same fate as Altuve. I don't know how the voters are going to land on that, right? Like, this is pretty unprecedented as far as, like, we've seen how steroids have been handled. We've seen how gambling's been handled, but this was such an outraged moment from the outside, but everyone from within baseball didn't seem to care that much. And my theory's always been that, like, everyone was doing what the Astros were doing to a certain extent, which is why the punishment was so light and a lot of teams didn't really seem to care that much. But it's going to be very interesting how they handle the Altuve case. And I think, Springer's probably knocking on the door. What is he? He's at Lifetime WAR. 42. Yeah. Like, he's probably got a couple,
man, because regular season, it doesn't stack up.
Yeah. But I mean, if he has a couple more seasons like this year before he's done, he gets to 50 WAR and he's got that playoff resume, then I think, you say give him the same fate as Altuve. But what Altuve's fate is, I'm not sure. It's the coin flip for me.
Because think about what he's done, right? He had that Game 2 home run in the ALDS. But, like, what people are going to forget, and the story would be even written differently, and it's already great, is on the very first pitch of the ALCS, when the Jays were up to bat, he took Bryce Miller deep, right? Like, the Jays were up 1-0 because of that. Now, credit to Cal Raleigh, man. I'm never going to, on the theme of clutch, dude, like, that image is going to stick in my mind for a long time because Cal Raleigh was left in the on-deck circle, and he could have represented the game-tying home run. And he had been just dumping baseballs left, right, and centers at clutch times. And I feel so bad for Mariners fans because I know how this feels. I'm fans of tormented teams. I'm fans of teams that get close and something crazy happens. But to go home with a 2-0 lead with 3 games at home and your starting pitchers lined up and not win 2 of those 3 games, man, that's going to haunt Mariners fans for a long time. To lead 3-1 late and not go to your closer, that's going to haunt Mariners fans for a long time. The Mariners fans don't deserve this. Like, they just don't.
No. Dude, listen to this 2017 World Series, right? Astros against Dodgers. Springer went 11 for 29 with 5 home runs. He had a 1.471 ERA OPS, won World Series MVP. This little stat here called championship win probability added, 55.3%. Like, yeah, he has another World Series like that. All of a sudden, it's like, wow. And what I would like for, he had 24% championship win probability added in the series just now against Seattle, which I guess makes sense because he carried to the World Series, right? What I would like for what that would do to his whole sort of body of work is that you can then say it wasn't just, the cheating years, or it wasn't just the Astros that he did it on. Like if he goes and carries now this Toronto team to a championship that the city's been sort of begging for, I think it becomes quite an interesting discussion. Speaking on that front, he is 10-1 for World Series MVP, which I think is a great bet.
Dude, let's talk World Series. I'm going to need you to coach me through it. One of the matchups I would love to see, that's just not going to happen. I know it. How cool would it be to see at some point Scherzer versus Kershaw? Like, can they just give us that? Can the managers just meet and be like, look, it makes sense to whatever, but for the good of baseball, game 3 is being started both by Kershaw and Scherzer. It's just like mandated by the commissioner. Like that would be one of the coolest, most storybook things ever. Because Scherzer, dude, he still has it when he needs it, man. And I think he knows this is his last ever chance. So he's an animal. He's an absolute 2-eye-colored animal. And when he gets the look in both of his colored eyes, he goes like he still has it, man. You don't take that compete level. You don't take the man out of the arena. This isn't a 162 game season. We're asking Max Scherzer to have one good night. And I don't know why I ever doubted him in the ALCS, but like it's so stupid to have doubted him because he needed one good night, not a whole season.
Yeah. Let's theorize our way through this. There's no listed starter yet for game 1 for the Jays. The Dodgers have listed Blake Snell. Game 7 was Tuesday, right? Like 3 off days.
Gausman pitched, but it was basically a bullpen, so he's not out of
one inning. Like, yeah, is he game 1 starter or is it? I mean, I don't really know where you go from there. Like,
so I thought it was going to be Gausman, right? Because Gausman came into that game, and now normally in his pitcher's schedule, he comes in and he throws about 30 pitches full tote in the bullpen just to keep his arm hot. So like what he did in game 7 actually didn't break up his flow. Yeah. I thought the Jays were going to name their starting pitcher instantly in Kevin Gausman, and by the time you're listening to this, it could happen. That tells me I have a weird feeling, dude. I think the Jays are going to go Savage game 1.
That would be insane, but yeah. But did he start? He started a day later than Gausman's last start, but obviously didn't have the pen day, right? So I guess he'd be at full rest.
Savage started game 6 on what day was that?
Monday.
So,
yeah, it was 4 days rest.
No, that would be Sunday. Right? Sunday in the United States?
Was game 6 and 7 back-to-back days? I lost a day flying.
Yeah, they played game 6 and 7 back-to-back days.
Yeah, so yeah, Sunday in the US. But
so it's normal.
Friday,
it's normal rest. Sunday.
Yeah, 4 days rest.
It's 4 days rest. Sorry, my dog's barking. I'm going to let her out.
She's got thoughts on game 1 starter.
I guess the other thing that they're going to be trying to look at is Chris Bassett, right? Because he looked nasty out of the bullpen. He threw that little curveball, and Bassett is good at home. So if you're going to start Chris Bassett, it has to be in one of those first 2 games. It'd be crazy to start him on the road.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really stretched out anymore now, right? Like he pitched 1.2 innings.
He's going to be a bullpen guy. You're right.
He pitched 1.2 innings in game 1 and an inning in game 7. Yeah, I don't think you should now.
And is Barrios is done. We've seen that. The question here is Bo Bichette. Like, how does he fit in to this lineup, right? Like this lineup is working. He's a bat that hasn't faced this caliber of pitching in like 5 weeks at this point. The Jays lineup is working. Bo's a special player, so he'll be fine. But like Jimenez has been playing pretty good shortstop, dude. Like, and you can't put him in at DH, which is what you would have done because Springer's knee. You're not taking Springer's bat out of the lineup. So had George Springer not get hurt, I would have said easy. He's the DH. But like, where does Bo fit into this equation?
I think you start him on the bench, right? And you wait and see.
What magic you need?
Yeah, I think you pigeonhole yourself too much if you start him, because then, like you said, you lose that flexibility to move pieces around.
Yeah, and if you lose, you're like, all right, Bo's our magic trick right here, right?
Yeah, like put him anywhere and like lean on him having one moment in a big AB, and maybe a matchup kind of focused selection, as opposed to like, he goes out there, he goes 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, and someone's sitting there going like, I did all this work in the ALCS and everything to get us here, and potentially disrupting like team harmony that way. I think if he's first bat off the bench and that you can then shuffle other pieces around, even if it means like Springer's just having an off night, whatever, he's 0 for 3, Bo comes in at DH, then I think that flows a lot better from a sort of decision standpoint from there. Also, the ovation from the crowd when he comes in off the bench, as opposed to like if he's just having the third AB of the game or whatever, and the crowd's already buzzed. It does feel like a bit of an ace up the sleeve for game 1 at least, and then you reassess for the game 2 lineup from there.
So the problem, it's all going to come down to pitching anyways, because they're going to have, like, the Jays pitching has to be up to the task, and they're going to have to hold them into games, which is concerning so there's been 290 teams that have played in the postseason since the wild card was introduced in 1995. Of those 290 teams, the LA Dodgers in 2025 have the best postseason ERA at 1.40, right? Like, teams just aren't scoring of them. Like Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Glasnow, they've allowed 29 hits in 64 innings and given up just 2 innings. So that is concerning. The Jays bats are going to have to be plucky. If you're going to pick a team, though, to kind of like defend against that, it's a team that doesn't strike out and has great plate discipline, which is the Toronto Blue Jays, and they're going to need it. But like, I don't know if they have this level, man. Like, everything we thought this Dodgers starting rotation could be has been and more.
Yeah, I think like a massive indicator of how this series is going to go is game 1, average number of like pitches per plate appearance. Like if the Blue Jays, even if they lose game 1, I don't care. If the Blue Jays are drawing 5 to 6 pitches per AB on average, they will win this series. I'm convinced of that, because the flow-on effect of they'll eventually knock starters out earlier and go up against a bullpen that has been horribly inconsistent all year, but especially in the closing part of the season. If they're up there hacking, and a part of that is on the Dodgers, guys to be throwing strikes, but what the Jays have done so well for so long, but in particular this year, is fouling pitches off on 2 strikes, right? Like the amount of times we've seen those 7, 8, 9, 10 pitch ABs that even you go and strike out, that's fine. You've just taken 10% of Blake Snell's night, right? So if we're seeing like a few of those ABs, I think that's going to be such a key indicator for how this series is going to go. And that's something I'll be watching.
The Dodgers bullpen is the second worst. The worst is the Jays, but you're right? Like, if they can get these guys out early, then you feel like you have a little bit of hope.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's Jays bullpen versus Dodgers bullpen, then we're saying it's neck and neck, right? Whereas if it's Dodgers starters versus Jays starters, especially given the way the last couple of weeks have gone, it's not neck and neck. So even if you're just forcing, the bullpen gates to be opening at the middle of the 5th for both teams, all of a sudden we should be looking at even money for the World Series, not the $2.80 they're putting up about the Jays right now. So that's going to be definitely like my stat to watch. Is how sort of how disciplined they can be, but how frustrating they can be at the same time.
I just quickly looked up some Dodgers bullpen numbers, and even Rohei Sasaki in this here. The Dodgers bullpen averages 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, and Sasaki's 6.75. That's not good for a bullpen if you want a reference point. You want your bullpen strikeout rates to be well above 9, because you bring in guys to get out of jams. So they don't really have they have an inability to miss bats. And the Jays' biggest strength, they don't
exactly. So those 7.3s are against all teams. So you factor in the Jays K rate, and that's significantly lower again. That means if you're getting, what's the quick math on that? If you're getting 3 or 4, it's probably going to be 3 innings out of the bullpen. They're striking out like 1 or 2 guys. That means there's a lot of balls put in play from a lot of powerful hitters that can, and also patient hitters who will draw walks. So I do think we're going to see a lot of what to expect from the series based on that in game 1. If the Jays are just up there all trying to be heroes and hitting home runs, and they're in 0-2 counts and chasing in the dirt, which can happen. And, Blake Snell's curveball's obviously one of the best pitchers in baseball. I think that regardless of the result, that's an indicator I'm really keen to watch for game one.
So one of the reasons I kind of think that it would be not a bad idea to start Yesavage, hear me out here. Trey Yesavage goes out game one. There's two possible outcomes. Either A, it's New York Yankees Trey Yesavage, right? He absolutely shoves, holds them in the game. Rookie pitcher takes on the world in the LA Dodgers, and the Jays win game one or have a good chance because he shoves. Second one is moments maybe too big for as a starter, or he gets knocked out of the game early, which isn't a bad scenario because then you could say, you know what, Yesavage, you're not starting the rest of this series. Like you pull you after that 50, 60 pitches. You get you a couple days rest. You're hot in the pen for game 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, whenever you need them, and you flip back to having that Scherzer or Bassett as a starter. That's what the Jays have a bit of a advantage in terms of like that flexibility of how they want to play their rotation, but it's also a curse in a way too. Like sometimes making too many decisions is a bad thing, right? Sometimes it's better when it's just simple. Everyone knows their role. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be Gausman Yesavage though.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. It just, I guess it scares me, the Gausman situation. But I mean, that's the beauty of Game 7 baseball, right? Like you manage it as if like we'll worry about tomorrow, but now tomorrow is today, right? Like the whole reason you brought those guys out was because it's like whatever it takes, we'll figure it out when we get there. Now it's time to figure it out.
Scherzer's starting though. We know that in LA.
Yeah, Scherzer game 3, I think is locked. It's where they go Trey. I know what you mean. I mean,
where's Lauer been?
Dude, has he even come out of the pen at all?
Maybe once, but it feels weird that like the Jays are like, oh, our bullpen's struggling. We got this guy that's been one of our best pitchers all year, and he
pitched 1 inning against Seattle, and he had 2 appearances against the Yankees. That is strange. I mean, like he was a starter, and then bullpen, then starter, then back to bullpen. But I mean, that patch in the middle of the year really got the Jays in the position to win the division where they did. And he's just kind of been like an unsung hero now, right? Or almost forgotten. I guess you go and get all those shiny new toys from Minnesota, and it's like the Woody meme, I don't want to play with you anymore, just dropping like Eric Lauer onto the
Louis
onto the
Varland
floor.
has played in 10 of the 11 games.
Yeah.
Anyways, dude, before we get to your picks, give me some advice from your experience as a Diamondbacks guy that felt some heartbreak in a surprising run. And now I guess even using your experience of those 2 years, 2 years after the fact, in those 2 years that have followed, you can take in that context of what happened next. Give me some advice for how I should approach this week of World Series baseball.
I guess some of my advice won't apply to your situation. One of the ways I approached it, we can both agree, didn't expect to be here. So that was a great way to kind of be like grateful and present, if that's, the spiritual term you want to use for it. But one thing I said was that no matter what happens this series, I'm not going to start hating the Texas Rangers because they're a really cool team too. You definitely can't say that about your opponent. And I won't blame you if you maybe even leapfrog me with LA Dodgers hatred, depending on how this series goes. Sometimes, man, you can beat a team, and a playoff series can like create some long-lasting hatred. Like I had no major beef with the Phillies before 2023. I came out of the 2023 like postseason with so much hatred for the Phillies, and I was still like, yeah, the Rangers are pretty cool. Like that Corey Seager guy is awesome. So yeah, I think that part probably doesn't apply to you so much. I think it's great that you've got the out of, well, they are probably the best team on paper that we've ever seen. Even when we were loosely talking the other day, like about how many MVPs are in the lineup, just batting like 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, or whatever it is in their lineup. They've got like Cy Young winners. They've got everything. Hey,
they're so good.
Yeah, like on the out on paper is like, well, seriously, like baseball's broken, right? like so I think you can just be stoked to be there and to have a chance to knock off the team. And some of the memes you sent this week were brilliant, but to become America's team from Canada really says something about what the Dodgers are to baseball right now. So I think just enjoy the fact that like no one's gonna enjoy your failure. Like this isn't going to be one of those moments where it's like everyone's really laughing at us. And I think that gives you like the true feeling of house money, right?
Dude, like It's crazy because some of my friends who are just kind of like joining in like I've got a lot of friends that are diehard Jays guys. It's fine, but I've got other friends that are casual supporters, and they're just like, no, but the Jays have the best like 7, 8, 9 that I've seen, and you're like, all right, man. Well, let's go take a look at Max Muncy, Enrique. What was it? Muncy, Kike, and Pages is their 9th guy, and like at the start of the year, it would have been a little bit surprising, but from day dot, Andy Pages has been brilliant for the LA Dodgers. Didn't he end up hitting like 272 and an OPS close to 800 at the 8 hole, dude? Now he struggled in the playoffs, fine. And like Jimenez has gone beast mode.
He's got a
like,
brilliant glove though too, man. Like
he's unreal, dude.
Yeah, he this year I think defensively maybe behind like Michael Harris would have been one of the best defensive outfielders. Like his DRS numbers are just ridiculous. So yeah,
quick thought though on the theme of center fielders. Can we revisit the trade? Because you know what? Like, is this a case where both teams won it? Because 2 years ago, Jays fans were like, oh my God, we gave up Gabe Moreno and we got Varsho and we kept Kirk. Like that effectively was the deal, right?
Yeah, I think the question was always, would the D-backs have done the same trade with Kirk instead? And that would have been more of a win for the Jays at the time on paper, I think, because like as great as Kirk is in certain areas of the game, I think Gabby is a more complete player. And the 3 seasons he's posted since the trade have been better than Kirk's 3 seseasons.
And the Jays wanted Varsho, right? Like that was it. So the Jays got their outfielder in Varsho, who's been incredible in these playoffs and had he played half the year and he hit like 20 home runs.
Made the most unbelievable
Gurriel left. He was leaving anyway, so like that's fine. I think it's one of those trades where both teams won, right? That first year, the Diamondbacks went on that run, got to the World Series. They didn't win. And then 2 years later, Jays with Dalton Varsho playing a run, get to the World Series. I think if the Jays win the World Series, the Jays win the trade, right? Like you make these trades to try to win the World Series, and that's a pretty big notch in your belt. If the Toronto Blue Jays win the World Series and beat the Dodgers and Dalton Varsho is great and Alejandro Kirk got them there. But if the Jays lose, which is expected in the World Series, you're probably looking, you know what? That kind of worked for both of them. They both got a great run out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like we had Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, like our top 4 top prospects are outfielders too.
Jake
like
McCarthy.
Varsho was, and Gurriel we picked up, who'd been huge for us for a couple of years too. Varsho was like surplus to requirements anyway, whereas we desperately needed a catcher. So I think like you look at it independent of what Toronto does anyway, we got our catcher of the future, locked him up on like a 7-year team-friendly deal, a position we had no organizational depth in, and said like, okay, great, we've got now a set and forget young core, awesome. And yeah, we just missed out 2 years ago. Probably should have made the playoffs this year and probably could have done some damage if we had. Same as last year. We're going to get 4 more years of Gabby Moreno, so we'll see. But
that's a good way of putting it, man.
It's definitely win-win.
Really, yeah, really, the trade is the Diamondbacks are like, we have this awesome young outfielder who's a great defender and has shown flashes of power. He's going to be a good player. We don't have space for him because we got 3 other good outfielders in front of him. And the Jays were like, we have this awesome complete catcher who is awesome. We have 2 of them, and we have to make a call for which one we're going to go. We're leaning towards Kirk, so we're now going to – we can't make Moreno a backup. Like, he's not a backup worthy. And then both teams are like, Jays are like, we don't really have an outfielder. Like, we need an outfielder.
And a left-handed hitting one too, right? Because Corbin's lefty, Alex lefty, McCarthy's lefty. Some of the guys in the farm are lefty. So, like, it was just the perfect – it made so much sense immediately. So many trades you read and you're like, I don't know if I can see the angle. That was just like, cool.
And both players made meaningful contributions on a conference or a league championship winning team. Like Moreno was awesome in that run, right? Varsho, awesome in this run. So it's like you kind of both hoped for that in the Jays. The Jays were like, we want a productive outfielder. Diamondbacks were like, we want a productive catcher. And on top of that, the guy that the Jays decided to keep in Kirk ends up being a good call, right? Like he was great this year. And the guy that the Diamondbacks decided to keep in Corbin Carroll, unbelievable. Alec Thomas.
Yeah, and even, Alec Thomas's hit against the Phillies is what got us to the World Series as well. So, like, if all of a sudden we choose to keep Alec instead of Varsho,
maybe you don't
what
have
does that do, right? So, yeah, I think both teams would be very happy with where they are. But you're right. In 10 days' time, if or when the Blue Jays are hoisting the championship in the parade, you'll have recency bias on your side for sure.
All right, give me your pick, Spoon. We'll wrap this up. I'm gonna say I'm only picking with my hearts. I'm not gonna make any I don't need to bet on this. I'm just gonna enjoy it, take it in. Obviously, my head says the Dodgers are gonna win. Like if I'm looking at it as a neutral, they have too much talent not to. But I'm gonna hold on to some hope for the reasons that the Jays have been plucky. They're in a place they're not supposed to be, and they've been doing it all year. They've got some dogs on that team. And you know what? They are a contact team versus a bullpen that allows a lot of contact. I want to say the Jays are going to split in Toronto. They're going to lose 2 of 3 in LA, and they're going to win both their games. Jays are going to win in 7, and I'm going to be at the Welly in Adelaide on Sunday morning going absolutely crazy with a bunch of Canadians in Adelaide.
Yeah. I've got, what was it, 7 or something like that. There's a reel we posted. Remember we were talking about like how crazy it was at the Jays were like 250 for the division or threes.
Dude,
and
I made a bet that day.
Yeah. I'm skipping that. I'm going straight for the World Series at 15s or whatever it was.
It was 1950 is what I'm on for the Jays to win. I got put $50 on it for the Jays to win the World Series at 1950. Yeah. The cash out is pretty tasty now, but I just got to let it ride.
I know you can't do it. Yeah. I'm riding the same ticket. So, look, it's tricky to give game 1 bets now, given we don't even know the starter. And I don't think I can even touch any part of it off the basis of that, because like how game 1 will go is going to depend entirely on what they decide. And there's really no information either way. So there's 2 bets that I can talk to now. And I think hopefully, we discussed maybe we're going to post after like every time the venues change, right? So like after game 2, we'll do another episode, and there'll be 3 games ahead to come to preview. And then after game 5, when hopefully Toronto are up 3-2, but we're still like well and truly alive, we'll drop another episode and can maybe jump like more specifically into game props. The 2 bets I like on a series level, I really like series handicap plus 1.5 games for the Blue Jays at $1.90.
Interesting.
I think if the Dodgers win, and they're favored to win, it's no huge surprise there. I think it can go 7, especially given the Jays have the 4 home games. So if Jays are winning 3 of their home games, 3 of their 4, even if they don't pick up 1 on the road, that's a 4-3, and that's a plus 1.5. Any other result beyond that, such as Jays winning the whole thing, you also cover. But I don't think they've come this far to just get destroyed. It doesn't feel like it matches up with the Brewers series where, and the Brewers even had their chance to steal a couple of games, but they were completely mismatched. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like a team that's been waiting for this, and with the energy of Rogers Center literally throwing this team over the line in Game 7 against Seattle, I think the plus 1.5 with the 4 home games is tremendous value. For those who aren't, already invested in a World Series bet, it doesn't make a lot of sense for yours and my situation, because that's not going to be much of a consolation prize if they lose 4-3. But if you're looking for something to bet on the next 10 days, I think that's a tremendous bet at $1.90.
I guess that's a good point that you just made about the Brewers, right? Like the Brewers were a surprise team this year. Nobody expected them to be there. They got to a chance to win and they got whitewashed. If you told me at the start of the year, or anybody at the start of the year, that the Jays would be in the World Series versus the Dodgers, people would say that's wrong. That's just not going to happen. We saw what happened last year. But if you told me 2 years ago, if I told you 2 years ago that in the next, let's go back to 2022. If I said, Spoon, in the next 3 years, the LA Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays will have a World Series against each other, you'd be like, yeah.
Yep.
Right? They got Vladdy, they got Bo. Jays had the 5th highest payroll in baseball, man. Like, it's not a surprise 3 years ago. It's a surprise this year, but the core of the team is the same.
Yeah, and it's a surprise for, like your casual baseball fan who watches the Yankees, the the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Red Sox dominate like 95% of baseball media coverage, right? Like this Jays team's been knocking on the door for a long time.
Yeah.
They've got an entire country behind them, strong payroll, as you said, but a team full of like genuine superstars in their own right.
Yeah, problem was they fell down the stairs after they knocked on the door for 3 years and then fell backwards down the stairs in 2024, but they seem to have on one knee, like George Springer, crawled their way back up there and are now on the dance floor at the World Freaking Series. Anyways, what's your? So I like the handicap at 1.5. I wouldn't have looked at it that way, so I appreciate the insight on that. So I'll keep my eye on that one.
another one that's a little bit of fun, and I think it feeds into probably the unknown around game one, the uncertainty. Toronto Blue Jays to win the World Series from behind at any point in the series, $5.50. I can absolutely see a world where the Jays go down 1-0 because, they experiment with a rookie and it just doesn't go to plan. They play it safe with Gossman as far as the rest day, whatever. We kind of thrown game one, but we had the extra home game. All of a sudden now we can reset our rotation and our one is going against your two, and we're not actually in that disadvantageous a position. And that's kind of how Seattle went with, setting up their rotation against the Tigers, and it worked for them with that like throwing game one kind of philosophy. I mean, to win from behind $5.50, they could also go 1-1 in Toronto and then 2-1 in LA, but then they take another one, bring the series back to Toronto. I just think there's a few different ways where that can win at $5.50, and that's a little bit of fun because if you get on that now, you probably don't get that price again. I don't think they balloon to beyond $5.50 even if they lose game one. You might not be getting the same price if you backed them down 2-0, 3-0. But I just think there's a way to leverage where we're at. Like I said, with the metrics around, I just want to see them take 6-7 pitches in AB. I don't care about game one result. It won't change my thought on Jays being a live chance in this. So they could lose game one for a myriad of reasons. It could just be like all our starters are banged up, but it's a 7-game series. We've got 3 games at home. We steal 1 on the road, and we come back into this thing. I think at $5.50, that's a fun bet.
It would be consistent, man. Who's the best comeback team in baseball all year?
Yeah, and
it was down 2-0 after dropping 2 at home in the ALCS.
And can you imagine the media running away with the Dodgers winning a game or two? It's just going to be like, this team was too good from the start. We knew it, and it's just like, don't count the Blue Jays out, man. So I like that at $5.50. And then the last one that I think is just a bit of fun, but it is on form. George Springer 11s for World Series MVP. Like, excuse me, he's already done it before. He's riding the hottest bat in all of baseball. And it's not going to be the best thing for his case that he's probably going to DH the whole time and not make any defensive plays. But at the same time, I mean,
what's Bo paying?
Oh, he was deep. He was like 30s, I think.
Could you see a world where the Jays lose game one, Bo Bichette gets inserted in the lineup and then gets hot for 1 week, and the Jays?
I can see it. I think the bookies can't, which makes me think they know he's not starting. Like, I think he's being used as a pitch at bat. For him to not even be in the market tells me that, like, he might get like 6 ABs the entire work. Like, we're just going to use him situationally, and something would go horribly wrong for him to be playing like 9 innings, 7 games. Just rattling off the top 6 of the market for comparison. Ohtani, obviously, $2.75. Vladdy, $6. Freddie, 11. Springer, 11. And then it's out to Teoscar Hernandez, 19. Snell, 21. Mookie, 23. Varsho, 29 is sneaky.
Because he could make a game-changing catch, have a couple hits. He's got some home run power.
Yeah, he's true 5-tool. But, I mean, I love Springer right there at 11s. I think that's crazy. Given
for a guy that's done it and is doing it.
He's done it and he's doing it, right? And they're huge things. And if the Jays win, it's him or Vladdy, I think. So you're getting 11s about something that's...
Don't mind the Varsho one.
250. Varsho 29s, and Kirk 31s. Ernie Clement, your guy, 41s.
He's a Bills guy, Mafia guy. How crazy is that? His walkout song is the Shout song in honor of the Bills.
It's so cool. You throw a few dollars on some of these guys, I think you're covering the market well. But Springer at 11 is the one I wanted to touch on. So a few different price points there.
I just hope they're in it, man. I hope there's a fight. Like, I don't want this to be the Dodgers rolling through and winning in a sweep. Like, need the Jays to get a split at home. Need them to win one, and just get me to 6.
Yeah. Well, when we chat next after game 2, I hope it's at least 1-1, if not 2-0 Toronto. And if it's 1-1, I hope. It has to be 1-1. I hope the Dodgers won game 1, and that come from behind at $5.50 bet is well and truly alive, because I do think that's a nice little opportunity there price wise.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Spoon, we're going to be chatting, I'm sure, during it. I know you're going to Bali to watch it from a villa somewhere in the morning, and then you can carry on your day after. It's been a fun year watching baseball with you all year, man. We've talked multiple times a week from the preseason from back in March. And it's cool that we're getting through this together. So hopefully the Jays can bring it home.
Yeah, dude, I remember you bringing this up, or I was talking at length about it on Super Bowl day, right? Like that was when it was kind of like, all right, season kicks off in a couple of months. Let's make this happen. What does the schedule look like? And, we've kind of evolved that and reinvented that a couple of times throughout the year. But it is awesome to be heading into, the biggest 7 games of the season and to be able to say we've talked about every single storyline. Both.
I think I won that case of beer from Rollsy for our team versus team bet.
Yeah. Like on air and off air, we've digested a serious amount of baseball this year. So yeah, I hope the next 7 days end in something that's very important to you, which is the Blue Jays winning, and very important to me, which is the Dodgers losing.
Let's go Blue Jays. It worked out well in Australia. Game 1 and 2 and 6 and 7 are on weekends here, which means, I'm going to be able to watch them. I work in baseball, so I'm going to be able to work my schedule so I can watch the games, but it's going to be like work, game, work, right? Like you kind of want to just have the whole day focused on this. I get potentially 4 of those days, and potentially imagine a Game 7 win on a Sunday morning at 11:30 start time would be absolutely insane. That Monday ain't gonna be done. But
that's going in sick. That's sick leave.
We can dream. Anyway, Spoon, have a good one. Let's go Blue Jays.